Hello students, in this module we will be doing the question answers of your chapter number 8, and here there are not many question answers. We'll try to do them quickly and you can note them down in your fair copies. I will not be sending you any more photographs of the books now, because you can very well get the books and you need to get them, otherwise it will be very difficult for you to go even the syllabus any further, because now we will be having more chapters, exams coming up. So I would suggest you better get the history books as soon as possible, not only history but all the other books. But anyhow, I am sending you the question answers. You get the books. If you don't have the books, you can pause this video and get the answers. Otherwise, if you have the books, you can search in the book. It will be very easier for you to see the answers once I have already told you the idea or discussed them with you. It will be easy for you to find them out. So not wasting any more time, let's quickly come down to the question answers of chapter 8, the medieval India, and the B part, that is the Delhi Sultanate. So question number 1 in regards to this is, who was the founder of the slave dynasty in India? And the second part to this question is, give the other name for this dynasty. You will write, there were 5 successive ruling dynasties, namely the slave, Khilji, Tughlaq, Sayyid and Lodi dynasties. Among these, Qutbuddin Aibak is regarded as the founder of the slave dynasty. The early rulers of this dynasty were called the Mamluk Sultans. The word Mamluk is an Arabic word which means owned, since these sultans were earlier either slaves of the Turks or were the sons of the slaves. So this is basically your first paragraph under the picture of Qutbuddin Aibak. So from here, almost the entire first paragraph will be your answer number 1. I'm giving you a little longer answer so that you get the proper information of what has been asked in the question. Next we move on to question number 2. Why was Qutbuddin Aibak known as Lakh Baksh? And second part is, list any 2 of his qualities. Again, under the same picture of Qutbuddin Aibak, under that third paragraph is given, so you can begin it from there. Besides being brave and capable military general, that is the first quality, Qutbuddin Aibak was a man of letters. He was a person interested in literary things, so that is the second quality. Scholars like Hasan Nizami and Fakhr Mudir adorned his court. So that will be the first particular part, second part of the question. You can begin from that also, not a problem. So we have already told 2 different qualities. Now you will write, because of his liberal distribution of money, he also got the title of Lakh Baksh. So this will be the first part of the question. It does not matter if you write it at the end. Besides that, you can even write it, you can reverse the answer also. First you write why he was called Lakh Baksh and then the 2 qualities, or vice versa, totally up to you. Question number 3. State any 2 architectural features of Qutub Minar. Now in the beginning only we have done a lot about Qutub Minar. There are so many points given over here in the monuments and inscriptions, that is regarding the sources of information. So from there only, when we talk about Qutub Minar, we have a lot of points. It is from A to G. Over here, I don't know what the points might be in your book, but I feel that it might be the same. So you can mark your answer as point number D and point number E. I'll read it out for you so you'll come to know which points I'm talking about. D point is, the Minar is a circular tower about 13.8 meters in diameter at the base and tapers to the width of around 3 meters at the summit. It has a circular stairway of 379 steps leading to the top. And E point is, red sandstone, marble and grey quartzite were used to construct the tower. So here, that will be your answer number 3. Question 4. Mention any 2 military reforms introduced by Alauddin. Here we are talking about Alauddin Khilji. So 2 military reforms you will write. In your books, I guess the editions will have different page numbers, but you can check with the help of the headings. So I am giving this answer number 4 from military reforms. That is the heading also under Alauddin Khilji's various headings. One heading is military reforms. From there I am using the paragraph's third line onwards. It says, he imported quality horses and started the system of branding horses known as Dag, so that the soldiers could not replace them with inferior quality horses. He also introduced the system of Chehra, i.e., giving a kind of identity card for every soldier. He himself approved all recruitments to the army and paid cash salaries to the soldiers from the royal treasury. So from the third line onwards till the end, you can write it as answer number 4. I'm purposely making you write a longer answer so that you have complete information, and whenever you read these question answers, try to learn them, you will be able to learn more of the information from the chapter. It will be beneficial for you. Next we move on to question number 5. How did Alauddin Khilji expand his empire? No particular thing is given in the chapter in regards to this as what techniques or what method. You can simply write he conquered all the different areas and territories of northern India, and after covering almost the entire of northern India, he moved towards his Deccan expedition, conquering the south in Deccan and the southern kings. But he never had the intention of annexing those empires in the kingdom, as he knew it will make it a weak administration. Therefore, he forced the southern kings to take him as their overlord, as he was moreover interested only in the wealth and the money that he could take from those particular empires. That is why they conquered the empire, looted it, and then went back to their empire, did not annex the empire in their kingdom. So that is all that how he expanded his empire. He joined only the northern part, and the southern part he left it away from the kingdom. Next you will write question number 6. Mention 2 controversial steps taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, as I told you, Tughlaqi Farman and all those things I told you. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq was known for some of his very big decisions which turned out to be a failure. Out of those, we are going to do 2 of them, and they are given in your book as the second and the third heading under Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So wherever in your book you can see Muhammad bin Tughlaq is explained, the very second, the very next heading and the other one that follows, these 2 will be your answers for answer number 6. One is transfer of capital and second is the token currency. The entire paragraphs will be your answer. You want to cut short them and write them in a shorter answer, you can do them, but for that see that you take out the important things from these paragraphs. I will try to give you a little smaller answer. Let's just read it. It says from the third line, he shifted his capital to Devagiri near modern Aurangabad and renamed it Daulatabad. He did it because Daulatabad was centrally located area from where he could control Deccan. Delhi was in the grip of a severe famine, and third is Delhi was constantly threatened by Mongols. Then you move on to the paragraph below, and from there, third line, on realizing the gravity of the threat from northwest, he decided to shift the capital back to Delhi. This caused lots of hardships to the people. So I have tried to shorten it, but it could not be shortened any further. So you will have to write all these things. And second point, you will write token currency. You will write Muhammad bin Tughlaq took controversial step which Muhammad bin Tughlaq took was the introduction of token currency. This was done because of the shortage of silver, but this experiment failed due to the circulation of fake coins on a very large scale, which caused chaos. So this much you can write. So I guess this we have shortened a lot. So you have these 2 points as your answer number 6. Now we move on to question number 7. Who was the commander-in-chief of the army during the Sultanate period? Now under the last headings you will see in your books is given a broad heading, a big block letters. It is written bold heading, Sultanate administration. Under Sultanate administration, on the other side you will see the first paragraph on the other side of the page. It is given. The entire paragraph I have taken as your answer number 7 because it explains a lot about Arizai Mumalik, because he was the one who was minister of this particular department. So we will be able to understand both the things, the commander who was the real commander-in-chief and who was the minister of the army. So you will write, the minister in charge of the army was called Ariz-i-Mumalik. The Ariz was not the commander-in-chief of the army, since the Sultan himself commanded all the armed forces. The special responsibility of the Ariz was to recruit, equip and pay the army. So this is all about Ariz also, and we have done about the answer, that is who is the commander-in-chief, that is Sultan. So that is why we have done the full paragraph, so that you understand about Ariz-i-Mumalik also. Next is question number 8. Name the department which dealt with the state correspondence during the Sultanate period. For this you will write, where you have marked your answer number 7 in your books, just the very next paragraph and the last line of the paragraph will be your answer number 8. I'll read it out. The Diwan-i-Insha, D-I-W-A-N, put a dash, I-I-N-S-H-A, Insha. Diwan-i-Insha dealt with the state correspondence. So this one line answer is good enough for you to understand. You can even understand what is Diwan-i-Risalat. You can write that answer on your own. What is Diwan-i-Risalat? And you can write, it dealt with religious matters and presided by Chief Sadr, who generally was a Qazi. So that will be an extra question. You can mention it as question number 10. And you can mention there what is Diwan-i-Risalat. It is something I am not suggesting you, I am telling you. This is question number 8 about Diwan-i-Insha. Make your question number 10 as what is Diwan-i-Risalat, and there you can write this particular answer. Next is question number 9. What was the Iqta system? So for Iqta system also a longer answer I am giving you, and that is the last paragraph, the very last paragraph of the entire chapter. And it says, during this period, that is we are talking about the Sultanate period, during this period the practice of giving grants of revenue from a territory came to be known as the Iqta system. Those who were given Iqtas were called Iqtidars. Out of the grants, the Iqtidars had to maintain themselves, their families and some soldiers for use by the Sultan during a war. So this much you will write in your answer number 9. And then answer number 10 or question 10, it is not given in your book, but you will be writing a question extra, that is what is Diwan-i-Risalat, and there you will write the answer. Diwan-i-Risalat was the dealt with the religious matters presided by Chief Sadr, who usually was a leading Qazi. That much. So that is how you will get 10 questions in this particular chapter. So I hope I have made it very clear to you. I was slow enough because we did not have much question answers to be done over here. The long answer type questions you will mark in your books. We might discuss it when we will be revising the entire chapter. That is only for your revision and for your better understanding of the chapter. These short answer type questions covers nearly the entire chapter. So please do them properly, and that means we have done chapter number 8 also. So till question number 8, chapter number 8, I want you all to complete all the question answers from all the chapters of history as well as civics, because soon you will be asked to give your copies for corrections, and for that I want you to properly cover your books with a brown sheet, write your names carefully, name, class, sections, and see your chapter number 1 to 8 in history and all the chapters we have done in his civics. they should be there with all the question answers completely done. We have just short answer type questions, so it is not going to take you a long if you have kept your work up to date. Otherwise, you still have time to complete them. But keep in mind, you do not have to use any photostats. I don't want your registers, your copies with photostat copy papers pasted on them. Take a time, ask your friend to give you the work, whatever he or she has completed, if they have done, and then complete that. You can do it on the sharing basis and help each other, and then accordingly submit your work for corrections. It is not only correction, but it is in a way of your your inspection also. So be ready for that and see that all your work is up to date, neat and tidy, and everything nicely done. With this, we come to the end of the particular module. Hope to see that all your work will be done by the time your date comes, that is the due date of your submission of the work for the inspection. So now we'll end this module. See that your work is duly done. Thank you.